Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we are analyzing a scenario that will leave its mark on world politics. Imagine that Bashar Assad loses his power in Syria, opposition forces take control, and Syria turns into a strategic war between international powers. In such a case, how will the balances in the region change? Which countries will gain power? Which will lose their positions? These questions are critical enough to rewrite the dynamics in the Middle East. The overthrow of Assad could be a turning point not only for Syria, but for the entire world. The region's history, geopolitical position, and energy resources place Syria at the center of a global power struggle, not just regional. Turkey, Russia, Iran, the United States, and many other countries will have to develop new strategies in the face of the opportunities and threats that this change will create. This video examines possible scenarios in Syria after Assad, how international powers will react to this situation, and how regional balances will shape. If you are ready, let's take a closer look at this turbulent scene of world politics. Don't forget to watch the video until the end and share your thoughts on this important topic in the comments. Turkey's role, new strategies on the southern border. The changing balance in Syria represents both a great opportunity and a serious challenge for Turkey. The overthrow of Bashar Assad and the establishment of a new order in Syria brings with it a picture that needs to be reshaped in terms of both security and diplomacy on Turkey's southern borders. As one of the countries that will be most affected by this situation, Turkey must plan its strategic moves more carefully. First of all, Turkey continues to see the PYD/YPG elements in northern Syria as a threat to its own security. The collapse of the Assad regime could create a power vacuum in these regions. In such a case, Turkey may have to take an active role through military and diplomatic means to ensure border security and minimize the threat of terrorism. In particular, expanding safe zones cleared of terrorism and encouraging the return of Syrian refugees to these areas will be among Turkey's primary goals. In addition, Turkey may take a leading role in humanitarian aid operations in the region. In the process of establishing a new government in Syria and ensuring stability, Turkey will continue to be an active actor due to both its historical ties and its regional leadership position. In this process, it will be critical for Turkey to establish balanced relations with the Arab world, Russia, and the US, and to develop policies that mobilize the international community. However, a post-Assad Syria could also mean the reshaping of energy corridors. Turkey could gain economic benefits by hosting regional energy projects in this change. As a result, Turkey's strategy on its southern border will require a comprehensive approach, not only in terms of military security, but also in terms of diplomatic, economic, and humanitarian dimensions. The US and the West, a new roadmap. Since the beginning of the civil war in Syria, the US and its Western allies have tried to establish a balance against the instability in the country. With the overthrow of Bashar Assad, Syria may become a more complex geopolitical game board for these powers than ever before. However, this situation also means new opportunities and the realization of strategic goals for the US and the West. US policy in the Middle East is shaped especially around the fight against terrorism, energy security, and regional stability. The fall of Assad may require a reassessment of these priorities. The US may aim to play an active role in the new administration by deepening its cooperation with the Kurdish elements in Syria. Particularly groups such as the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, may continue to be one of the most important partners of the US on the ground. However, this situation also has the potential to create new tensions in relations with NATO allies such as Turkey. For Europe, the reconstruction and stabilization of Syria is of critical importance in terms of controlling the migration crisis. Western countries may try to influence the new administration by providing economic aid and diplomatic support to Syria. This approach is a vital step not only for Syria, but also for the general stability of the Middle East. One of the biggest challenges facing the US and the West in the post-Assad era will be competing with regional actors such as Russia and Iran. The West can try to fill the power vacuum in Syria by conducting effective diplomacy through international organizations. It can also take important steps towards gaining popular support by increasing humanitarian aid in the region. In conclusion, the overthrow of Assad is a turning point that contains both risks and opportunities for the US and the West. With the right strategic steps, they can have the chance to strengthen their presence in the region, but miscalculations can render them ineffective in the future of Syria. Russia and Iran, losers or new winners. The overthrow of Bashar Assad is a development that fundamentally changes the equation in Syria and directly affects the interests of Russia and Iran in the region. However, for these two countries, the collapse of the Assad regime may not mean a completely lost game. Both Russia and Iran may develop new strategies to maintain their influence in Syria and aim to be the winners in this process. For Russia, Syria has become a gateway to the Eastern Mediterranean and a strategic base that increases its regional influence. The naval base in Tartus and the Mimimim air base are of vital importance for Russia to maintain its military presence in the region. The overthrow of Assad does not mean that Russia will lose its military bases. On the contrary, Moscow can exert diplomatic pressure to maintain the existence of these bases and maintain its influence by cooperating with the new Syrian administration. In addition, Russia can use Syria as a bargaining chip to establish a new balance with the West. For Iran, Syria is part of the geopolitical strategy known as the Shiite Crescent and is the main link for Tehran's support for Hezbollah in Lebanon. The overthrow of Assad could lead to a weakening of this line. However, Iran may seek new ways to increase its economic and political influence in the reconstruction of Syria. It can maintain its influence on the ground by using its influence over militias and local elements in the region. For both countries, a post-Assad Syria poses risks on the one hand and opportunities on the other. Russia and Iran, which aim to protect their current interests by cooperating with the future Syrian government, may develop different strategies to compensate for the areas of power they have lost. This will lead to the re-establishment of balances in the region and the reshaping of the influence of international powers. Regional actors Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Israel's calculations. The collapse of the Assad regime in Syria poses new opportunities and risks for regional actors. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Israel will seek to maximize their own interests in this process, and this could reshape the balance of power in the region. Each actor will seek a unique role in Syria's future. For Saudi Arabia, Syria could become an important front in reducing Iran's influence in the region. Riyadh could aim to use Syria as a buffer zone by establishing influence over the new administration in the post-Assad era. Limiting Iranian-backed militias in particular will be one of Saudi Arabia's primary goals. Furthermore, Saudi Arabia's financial support for the reconstruction of Syria could strengthen its relations with the West and increase its claim to regional leadership. Qatar could intervene in the Syrian crisis with a more pragmatic approach. Doha could aim to ensure that it has an ideological influence on the new administration by supporting groups close to the Muslim Brotherhood. Qatar's economic power and diplomatic weight will provide a significant advantage in this process. In addition, Qatar's goal of establishing energy corridors through Syria is a strategic priority. This could strengthen Qatar's hand in both regional and global energy markets. Israel may see the overthrow of Assad as an opportunity, but it must follow a careful balancing policy in this process. The greatest threat to Israel in Syria has been the strengthening of Iran and Hezbollah. In the post-Assad era, Israel may intensify its military and diplomatic steps to reduce the influence of these powers in the region. Increasing security around the Golan Heights will be one of Israel's primary strategic goals. In addition, the support of the West, and especially the US, will play a critical role in Israel's relations with Syria. As a result, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Israel may seek to play an active role in Syria's future. However, the different priorities and goals of each actor may create a complex competitive environment in the region. This competition may both accelerate and complicate Syria's reconstruction process. The fall of the Assad regime in Syria could be the beginning of a period that will reshape not only the country but also the entire Middle East's political, economic, and military dynamics. This process will increase competition between major powers and pose both opportunities and threats for regional actors. However, whether these changes will lead to a stable future or deeper crises will largely depend on the attitudes of international and regional actors. The governance model that may emerge in Syria after Assad is critical not only for overcoming the devastation caused by the civil war, but also for building a new national identity. However, this process may be overshadowed by the struggle for influence among regional countries. The steps that Turkey will take to secure its southern borders, Iran's efforts to maintain its influence in the region, Russia's strategy to regain power, and the West's energy and security policies will be elements that will directly shape Syria's future. In addition, the safe return of Syrians to their homes and the reconstruction of the country will require major international cooperation. However, conflicts between different interest groups may prolong this process and lead to further humanitarian crises. Therefore, regional and international actors need to adopt an approach that prioritizes long-term stability over short-term gains. As a result, it remains unclear how this new era in Syria will play out. However, the decisions taken during this process will shape the future of not only the Middle East but also the global order. Syria, which has been a strategic intersection throughout history, continues to play an important role on the world stage. So who will be the winners of this process and what kind of legacy will be left to the region? Don't forget to share your comments and thoughts. Let's discuss this complex and important story together.